This is One Sentence News, a daily podcast featuring 3 news stories with a sentence-long summary and 1 sentence of context apiece. I'm Colin Wright. It's Monday, March 14th, 2022. Let's talk about the news. From Axios, Russia-Ukraine War Summary. A Russian airstrike has hit a Ukrainian children's hospital and maternity ward. A new round of peace talks in Turkey didn't result in anything notable. Russia is recruiting mercenaries from the Middle East to fight in Ukraine, and more sanctions have been levied by the US, EU, and UK. Russia has acknowledged, after denying this was the case, that conscripts are taking part in Ukraine-based operations, and some have been captured. Twitter has launched a version of its service that can bypass Russia's social media block. Morgan Stanley says that Russia is set for a Venezuela-style default as soon as April 15th. Ukraine is repairing power lines that were damaged by fighting at the Chernobyl power plant. A long line of tanks and artillery have fanned out around Kyiv into what's been called firing positions, and the U.S. Congress has passed a spending bill that includes $13.6 billion for humanitarian and security aid in Ukraine. There are some hints that both Russian and Ukrainian leadership might be more open to negotiations in the coming weeks, both sides softening on their demands and no-go zones. But this is very speculative at the moment. There are currently no concrete signs that things will change substantially in the near future, except that there's a good chance Kyiv will be bombarded and several medium-sized cities could be taken soon. From Hong Kong Free Press, 17 million locked down in Shenzhen as virus cases double nationwide. One of China's biggest and most economically important cities, Shenzhen, has gone into a week-long lockdown after COVID-19 cases doubled nationwide to about 3,400. That's a relatively small number of infections for China's population and compared to what other nations have seen, but China's COVID-0 strategy means they don't have as much natural immunity from earlier infections in their population, and they don't have as many people vaccinated. And those who are tend to be vaccinated with locally developed brands that have been shown to be less effective against Omicron, which means the Chinese government is especially gun-shy when it comes to surging infection numbers, even to the point where they will shut down a globally vital city of 17 million people in order to prevent a larger outbreak. And from Bloomberg, Saudi Arabia puts 81 people to death in its largest execution ever. The Saudi government executed 81 people who had been convicted of murders, rape, arms smuggling, and terrorism over the weekend, the largest known mass execution in the country's history. The Saudis are no strangers to executing criminals, often by beheading them with a sword. But this move, on this scale, is being seen as unusual because the Saudi government has been reducing their number of executions in order to attract more foreign investment and tourism. If you're finding some value in One Sentence News, consider leaving a quick review wherever you get your podcasts and/or sharing the show with a friend. You can find out more about this show or subscribe to the email version at onesentencenews.com, and you can support this and other related projects, like the Let's Know Things and Brain Lenses podcasts at understandery.com.